From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen, and proudly welcoming you to this Friday's edition of For the People. We should call it the weekend edition because it has a shelf life all the way up until at least Monday. But appreciate all our affiliates joining us coast to coast and on satellite on Liberty News Network and wherever you might be listening. A real pleasure what's going on right now. The committee is deciding to vote on Kavanaugh, his nomination at 1:30. But yesterday, were you in front of the television? Did you watch what was going on? What were your thoughts, your comments about it? I mean, it was a circus. If I ever saw a circus play out in front of the American public, it was terrible. And what was shocking about it is they were mentioning, genitalia being rubbed all over. It's just the stuff that you would hope that it wouldn't be, broadcast in the way that it did. But it was disgusting, to be honest with you. It was foul. It was a 9 hours? 9 hour testimony. It was just between the two. It was, and you know what? Yeah, it needed to be aired out. Yes, it needed to be talked about, and but there wasn't anything, in my opinion, nothing more than just the matter of he was there in the room, and that was it. She didn't really have anybody to collaborate, and now there's people coming forward, supposedly, because if they do the FBI investigation. And here's the interesting factoid, and that Brett Kavanaugh brought, I thought, very nicely and very emotionally yesterday, giving testimony, is that the FBI has investigated Brett Kavanaugh. So if you're on the left, you've already heard this fight, you've already heard this debate, but it's true. It's not been one time, and it hasn't been two times. It has been about 6 times that Brett Kavanaugh has been investigated because he's worked in the White House. He's worked as a judge, high-ranking official in Washington for decades. Brett Kavanaugh is not the monster that I believe that the left is making him to be. The general consensus is that this lady, at least in her mind, believes that she was sexually molested and fondled, etc. Yeah, we're talking about Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. She believes in her mind, I suppose, that Brett Kavanaugh did these things, but it just does not seem very likely, given the fact there is so many folks that know Mr. Kavanaugh and were there at that very night, and he was not there. It wasn't on his calendar. He wasn't there. His school is standing right by his side, saying there's just nothing in this guy's past. There's nothing. Nobody has been able to say that this guy is a predator, he's a creep, other than he likes to drink beer. Now, I kind of got a little squirmish when Brett just, apparently he really does like beer. Do you like beer? I mean, there's nothing wrong with liking beer, having a beer. But what the left was trying to do is to paint him in a corner that he liked beer so much, maybe, and this came out under testimony, maybe he blacked out. Maybe he didn't remember that he did these things. He became somebody else. And then didn't remember that. The interesting thing is, none of his friends, none of the people that attended know this. And then he was at the beach somewhere else completely different, not even in the area or in the general vicinity. The left is going to stop at nothing. Do I think that Blasey Ford may have been touched by somebody? It's very possible. But after yesterday's testimony, Folks, I do not believe that Brett Kavanaugh did these things. I think these are accusations. I think it's salacious. I think it is the lowest that one can go. I think the left has cooked this up. And, maybe Dianne Feinstein, maybe she did not do this. Maybe she didn't do this. This is kind of Clintonish. This is kind of Clinton tactics. Oh, I wouldn't put it past. But this is the low that the left has honestly stooped to. Did you watch the testimony yesterday? Here's a little sound from it.
The details about that night that bring me here today are the ones I will never forget. They have been seared into my memory and have haunted me episodically as an adult.
I have never done this to her or to anyone. That's not who I am. It is not who I was.
With what degree of certainty do you believe Brett Kavanaugh assaulted you?
100%.
What you're saying, if I understand it, is that the allegations by Dr. Ford, Ms. Ramirez, and Ms. Swetnick are wrong.
Yeah, that is emphatically what I'm saying.
They were laughing with each other.
And you were the object of the laughter?
I was, underneath one of them while the two laughed.
I'm innocent of this charge.
And you're prepared for an FBI investigation?
They don't reach conclusions. You reach the conclusion.
No.
Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham.
This confirmation process has become a national disgrace. The Constitution gives the Senate an important role in the confirmation process, but you have replaced advice and consent with search and destroy.
I hate to say this, but this is worse than Robert Bork, and I didn't think it could get any worse than that. This is worse than Clarence Thomas. I didn't think it could get any worse than that.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has gotten worse. If the committee votes and he gets the nomination, all hell, fury. If you haven't seen anything yet, you haven't seen anything yet. This has just gotten started. And it was very interesting, some of the information, factoids that came out about Ford telling her story to the Senate Judiciary Committee. The story about her husband. I guess they wound up in a couples counseling session over at a parent remodeling project at their California home. And Ford said that her husband couldn't understand why she wanted a second front door to the house. I insisted on a second front door, an idea that he and others disagreed with and could not understand. Ford testified yesterday to that point. She says the alleged attack by Kavanaugh caused her to have a fear of claustrophobia. Panic. Is that the reason for the second door? Asked Dianne Feinstein of California, the top Democrat on the committee. Yes, replied Ford. The Senate Judiciary Committee didn't conduct the second round of hearings in this spacious room of the Hart Senate Office building, which serves as Capitol Hill soundstage. Instead, the committee shoehorned senators, witnesses, the press, and 20 members of the public into a bandbox room in the Dreskin Senate Office building. The Durskin is what they call it. And unlike most hearing rooms, 262 Durskin lacks a rear door immediately behind for the senators, aides, and and key witnesses to come and go. Instead, this room features a solitary door at the rear of the room, which empties into the office suite. A side door, it opens into the public hallway. That was to appease Blasey Ford. You know, I said Dianne Feinstein, Lindsey Graham says that he doesn't believe that she did this. But there's a lot of leaks. Is this not politics? I mean, she says it's not. You don't think that anybody, Cory Booker, I mean, we could go on and name names, salivating right now, foaming out the mouth of what's going on right now. You don't think this is a power play? Of course it's a power play. The left is terrified that somebody the likes of Brett Kavanaugh would occupy the Supreme Court because of being a good man, a decent man, a moral man, and a constitutionalist. Somebody that believes in the Constitution will uphold it. You would want to have a life lived as well as Brett Kavanaugh. If you watch the testimony yesterday and you do some due diligence and do some research, I believe he's a decent man. And listen, people do make mistakes. People screw up and do things. I do not think Brett Kavanaugh made that mistake at all. And Brett Kavanaugh, he defended himself yesterday like none other. And he's being criticized by the left for it. There's a lot on the line. There's a lot on the line. And here he is yesterday.
Quote, simply put, Ms. Kaiser does not know Mr. Kavanaugh, and she has no recollection of ever being at a party or gathering where he was present, with or without Dr. Ford. End quote. Think about that fact. The day after the allegation appeared, I told this committee that I wanted a hearing as soon as possible to clear my name. I demanded a hearing for the very next day. Unfortunately, it took the committee 10 days to get to this hearing. In those 10 long days, as was predictable and as I predicted, my family and my name have been totally and permanently destroyed by vicious and false additional accusations. The 10-day delay has been harmful to me and my family, to the Supreme Court, and to the country. When this allegation first arose, I welcomed any kind of investigation, Senate, FBI, or otherwise. The committee now has conducted a thorough investigation, and I've cooperated fully. I know that any kind of investigation, Senate, FBI, Montgomery County Police, whatever, will clear me. Listen to the people I know. Listen to the people who have known me my whole life. Listen to the people I've grown up with and worked with and played with and coached with and dated and taught and gone to games with and had beers with. And listen to the witnesses who allegedly were at this event 36 years ago. Listen to Ms. Kaiser. She does not know me. I was not at the party described by Dr. Ford. This confirmation process has become a national disgrace. The Constitution gives the Senate an important role in the confirmation process, but you have replaced advice and consent with search and destroy. Since my nomination in July, there's been a frenzy on the left to come up with something, anything, to block my confirmation. Shortly after I was nominated, the Democratic Senate leader said he would, quote, oppose me with everything he's got. A Democratic senator on this committee publicly referred to me as evil